What's the topic, sir?
Oh, the topic is going to be about gender roles. All right, welcome back. In another talk for Relationship Matters. Today's topic is going to be about roles. So, what are some of the gender roles, and how do people refer to them from a cultural point of view versus a religious point of view? Stick around. All right, so what are some of the gender roles we want to talk about?
We can talk about how, you know, there was, it's like a cultural role that people use as religion to them, so it just solidified the idea where females have to stay at home.
Cultural role that is used from a religious point of view. They use religion to
Just
emphasize that women need to stay at home.
stay at home and that education is
Education is secondary to them. More like it's primary to the boys, to the male. And female are not supposed to get out of their home. They're supposed to take care of home and no education for them. Is that common? In some cultures. Okay. So, what's about that? What's the problem there?
I guess the problem is how people misinterpret religion, and in a way, it kind of like paints a bad picture of religion as well.
So it paints a bad picture on religion. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it really depends on the person. It comes down to the person. If the person is congruent, if the person is stable, if the person doesn't have a hidden agenda, if the person is courageous and yet also resourceful, they'll be open and transparent to talk about it. Even if the religion or the culture supports it or not, anyone can have their own value for their family. And they can say, this is just my value. It has nothing to do with religion. I just prefer that. And that's okay. Why?
That's the end.
No, I mean, that's one possibility, right? But that's why it's not done, because it's difficult. Because a lot of the people, they feel one way, but they don't have that courage. They don't have that, they don't feel like they have the skills, or they don't know how to have their value to be implemented. So therefore they use religion, they use culture, and vice versa. Yeah.
So how did all of this begin? Like, when did man start controlling women?
When did man?
Like, how did all of this whole thing begin?
What's the whole thing? How did the whole thing begin? What is the whole
why
thing?
did we start controlling women?
Why did we start controlling women?
Because are we insecure that they might
It depends. What do you mean by controlling women?
like,
Are you saying
they
like,
stay at home and
okay, so telling women to stay at home, you see that as controlling women? Okay. But
not letting them go out?
yeah, I mean, that's one way to think of it. Some cultures, they see that's a value. That's a cultural value for women to stay home.
They use the word cultural value to make it look nicer, lah. But
Yeah.
the truth is,
Yeah, so they define that value based on their understanding of the role of the male and the female. Because if they say the women stay at home, then who's going to provide money for the family? So then the culture defines that for our culture is the man to go make money. And it's shameful on the man not to make. That's the culture. You don't like it, it's fine. You can leave. But when it comes down to one man using the culture to fulfill their own understanding of the culture, right? To have the women to sit home because they don't feel comfortable for the women to be outside the house. So they're using culture in a sense to fulfill that uncomfortness for them to allow the woman to leave the house. Because some of the people, they need the other gender to go do some work because there's not enough money. So what they do is like, well, no, you cannot go. We just have to work with what we have. But the children need school. No, 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 no. We cannot. So therefore, they're not fulfilling their obligation according to that culture. I'm saying, right? According to that culture, they're not fulfilling their obligation to provide for the family, but they're using the culture to tell the woman to stay at home. So there's an oxymoron or some kind of contradiction on that kind of mentality.
Not to be deep or anything, why are men always the main character? Everything.
Why the men are?
The main
Well, what do you think? I mean, what are your thoughts, guys? Why is the man the main character? Main character meaning what are you referring to?
First perspective.
Yeah.
First contact of everything. Okay, what's so magical about that?
I think in the physical world we are supposed to be the main.
The physical
Yeah,
meaning?
physical world, like when it comes to physical stuff, the guys are better, right?
Mm.
I guess in a way it goes back to religions as well because all the prophets were men
Okay.
and there's no reasoning behind it.
Okay.
We could blame culture all we want, but where did it come from?
Where did it come from? It doesn't have to be coming from prophets. There are a lot of cultures that didn't have any prophets.
But that's what we're talking about.
Hmm.
So I guess people trying to use religions to justify what they think kind of makes sense because of the reason I just said.
So are you saying that only men do that? Women do not use culture and religion to get away
No,
with
I'm
what they
saying
want?
people do it because men have always been the main character in every single religion, and that's why it's easier for them to think so.
In Judaism, is the women. Is the women's the lineage belong to the women
In
in Judaism?
how?
Like for example, if a Jewish man married a non-Jewish woman, the children do not have to be Jewish. But if a Jewish woman married a non-Jewish man, the children have to be Jewish. So the lineage is from the woman. That's a Jewish culture. That's a Jewish religion. I mean, again, that's my understanding. I could be wrong here, but that's what I know.
That's one out of how many religions are there?
I mean, I can tell you the feminist culture. They feel the same way. So
Okay,
that's another culture.
but then that's one out of how many cultures?
Yeah, I mean, it does exist. It does exist.
So the majority is always because men are always the main character.
And
There's no why. It just is.
so, what's wrong with that?
It's weird and weird.
What's weird about it?
Because we like conquered the earth, right? So whatever we say is the rule lah.
We conquered the world from who?
Conquer the world. I think the guys are the one who runs.
Oh,
everything, right?
no, actually, the
So-
number we're outnumbered, dude. The population is more women than men.
Yeah, but then we control all of them. Like
Control is we control
so
it,
whatever we say is
and that's the whole idea. Why is it that men control?
because we have the strength and
Because physical strength.
physical strength.
Yeah.
So whatever.
What
we
are your
say is
thoughts?
the truth.
What are your thoughts?
Do you believe that instead of the men being like, I am strong, they are doing this to oppress their spouse?
Their spouse. Yeah, that's a very good question. Do you guys think the male, when they are in control, are they trying to oppress the female?
Depends on the guy, but sometimes you can be doing it for your own good.
What do you
In
think?
some cultures, yeah.
They do it to oppress the woman. And what do they get out of that?
Power.
Control over what? Power
Control
over.
over the family. Control over their spouse.
Power,
That's
basically.
Yeah.
But do they have to oppress in order to take control? Really?
Not necessarily,
But a
but
lot
a
of
lot
them
of them are misused.
Meaning, like,
Meaning, for example, let's say in a culture where the male is the breadwinner, right, of the family, and the husband does not allow the wife to work. However, the husband is not meeting the expectation to even provide the basic needs. And the wife has to work, but the husband's pride or ego from cultural influences and using like religion to back his point And how about that?
Like in America, women were not allowed to vote until recently.
Hmm.
Yeah. Blacks were not allowed to vote until recently. Blacks were suppressed.
Form of oppression.
Yeah, but is it the man? But because there were men also were suppressed. So is it the man was oppressing?
In the context of
So
family.
in context of family,
Gender role.
family roles. Okay, so a family role, you're saying that the male is oppressing.
Not necessarily, but
In
it
many
is
cases.
used as well.
Mhm.
Like, for example, it is also used as a form of oppression. Like, okay, the same thing could be achieved without oppressing, but when they want to achieve it, certain families or certain men of the household would use that as an excuse, or as a reason.
So what do we, when we say oppressed, what does that refer to? How do we define someone as being oppressed in the family?
Every decision,
Micromanage.
micromanaging is one.
Like they're being trapped.
Every decision,
Being trapped. What does that mean?
Making
Micromanaging and being trapped.
Micromanage, being told from rights to wrongs, what to do, what not to do.
Okay.
Like,
making
Stuff
them
like
do
that.
the things you want them to do.
Okay. So I'm going to challenge these thoughts. I'm not disagreeing with it, but I want to challenge it. Okay, let's say that you're in a company. Do you get to do what you want to do?
that's correct.
Does that mean when your manager tells you what to do and to do things certain ways and the things that he or she wants you to do, does that mean you're oppressed? So let's understand, what does oppressed mean? What does it mean to be oppressed? Because what I'm hearing is that I don't have the freedom to do what I want to do. But is that oppression?
are you comparing an organization to a family?
But isn't family an organization?
No.
Why not?
Because you don't choose to be in a family.
Yes, you do. Yeah, you do.
You choose your parent.
Yeah, that's right.
No, but I can choose to be with someone else.
Go to
I can
somebody
choose
else
to leave
and
my-
that you want
I
that.
can choose to leave my family.
Yeah, you can choose to leave your family at a point,
Yeah,
not as soon as you're born.
same thing.
So you have to spend a lot of your life.
Yeah,
after
but that doesn't define an organization though. That's just a characteristic of the organization, but that doesn't define an organization.
Okay,
So an organization is not like you define an organization or you can join it, but family you cannot. It doesn't work like that. That's not a definition. An organization is a group of people who have a goal, have a structure, who have a culture. That's an organization. But that's what family is.
So you say goals and structure, correct?
Hmm.
The goal is, let's say in companies sometimes, the goal is strictly only from the higher ups,
Yes,
correct?
yes,
the
But what if,
family has to work together.
yes. And that's what the organization does. So that's my argument, is a family is an organization.
but, so, is that saying that a wife's input or a children's input shouldn't really matter?
Ah, now we're talking about
So
the
are you
culture.
saying that the man is always on top?
That's a good question. Now we're talking about the culture of the organization. But it is an organization.
Yeah.
How they go about, they do their things together, differentiates one organization from another. One organization, aka family, can be more effective, can be more cohesive, can be more loving than another family, than another organization. And then you are in this family, it's like, well, look at this other family. They're having more fun than we do. How come we don't do these things? But it doesn't make my family an organization. Because an organization has leadership, collaboration, people, goal, culture, structure, discipline, you name it. All these are happening in every organization. So yes, there are some bad organizations, aka bad families, bad leadership, or zero leadership. But can we agree a family is an organization?
By
Huh?
definition, yes.
Definition.
Yeah, but
But yes, and families, they have different ways on how to go. So the person in the leadership position, if they're competent, then it's a happy organization. That's in family or company. Same. If they're not competent, they would have hidden agendas. They would manipulate. They would use religion. They would use culture. Like in organizations, what do they use? Law to scare people. Well, the law doesn't allow us to do that. And people get scared, like, oh, we're not supposed to do that. Or they make their own laws. These kind of things, it just makes you fired or something. So the leadership, it comes down to the methodology that leaders use. Authoritative, authoritarian, consultative, all that stuff. So yes, some leaders in a family, they manipulate, they use religion and culture to get what they want. And then the children grow up and it's like, wait a minute. We've been doing this and you're telling us it's religion. I found out that this is not part of our religion. Our religion doesn't say that. And that's when you choose to change the culture or to abandon it, say thank you, but thank you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it comes down from, it's not like something is okay or not, but the leadership is the key. Now, as you are a member of the organization and you see something wrong, it's also, as much as it is the leadership accountability and responsibility, it is also your accountability and responsibility to do something about it, to help the organization culture. You are accountable. Don't think that you're not. Even at the age of 5, you're accountable to speak up. But we learned how to be scared. That's what we learned. We did not learn resilience, we learned fear. So therefore, we listened to fear to be safe. And that's how we learned safety, by listening to fear. And that's the problem. Because you will always have people to manipulate. You will always have people to use one culture or religion or understanding versus another to get their agenda through. You can call them politicians, you can call them parents, you can call them whatever you want. They will always use it for their advantage, unless you speak up. And that's your role. There is no perfect family out there. There's no perfect organization. So what are your thoughts on that? You can challenge it. Feel free to drill holes through it. I'm just putting it as an argument. What? You look like you had a thought. You're right. What are your thoughts, guys?
So, sir, does it matter if the woman is the leader in the family?
That's up to their culture. Now, the problem with that, if the surrounding culture sees that weird, they will be bombarded with all this. Why are you so weak? How you allow your wife to do that? So where is your manhood? Why you do? Then how is he gonna be happy? He's being criticized every day. So he's gonna take it and he's like, no, we cannot do that. I cannot handle all this pressure. So it's gonna bring chaos to the family. It's true. There's nothing wrong with a woman to be. I mean, again, if the culture allows it, it's much easier. If the culture demands it, then it's an autopilot.
Thing, like, biologically, it doesn't matter, right?
Biologically,
For a woman to bring up the family by herself, it won't affect the children, right?
for the woman to bring up the children by herself.
By herself.
Yeah, well, there is, I mean, from my perspective, my personal feedback to that, the woman, if they're divorced or they're single mom, they want to bring children alone. They need to have a father figure in the children's life. Because despite how much we want to be believing ourselves are complete, being a gender of ourselves, we're not. The other gender brings values and brings things to the children's development that the first gender cannot. Meaning that if I'm a single father and I have children, I need to have a mother figure.
Even if it's a boy.
My sister, my mom,
You
right?
have a son, right?
Yeah, they need to have a mother figure. They have to have a mother figure. grandmother, they need to have that mother figure, female figure in their lives. So they understand the difference between man, because they having a female in their life, they bring in different skills in the child that men don't have, and vice versa. If a woman is bringing the child alone, is bringing up a child alone, she needs to have a father figure, brother, father, grandfather, all that, uncle, all that stuff. It's important to have that father. They call him godfather, and that's very important in the child's development. It's very important. So some people feel like they have to marry. You don't have to get married. You don't need to rush to it, but it's important to have a father figure. Even if they get married, that father figure or female figure is still there. Doesn't change. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the father figure or the mother figure is important if there's a separation. Very important. But hardly ever is thought about. So you have children, actually they don't have to be physically separated or legally separated. The father has been busy outstationed or busy working day in and day out. They don't even know the father. They see the mother running the house, the mother's everywhere, doing everything. So they get married. What's their role as a father? Just do nothing. My wife is going to do everything. Is that wrong? No. To him, that's life. That's how he grew up. That's how he saw the world. He saw the role of the mother to do everything. Father was not around. But that's going to cause clashes with his wife, because the wife does not come from that culture, does not come from that understanding of roles. It's going to clash. That's one possibility for them to clash in a relationship. Another possibility, that children will suffer. It's like, my father is here, but I don't feel like I have a father. He's not busy anywhere. He's just sitting around, but he's not engaged in my life. We don't do anything. Well, the father never knew how to have that role of the father. He didn't know. He didn't learn how to play the father role. So that's a disconnect.
That's a sticky one,
It happens.
because, like you said, the child would be like, oh, my dad is right here, but I don't feel like it's my dad. Do you think that child is going to grow up and repeat the same thing that her
Well, that's a very good question.
Because you need to learn through life, right? So if that person's dad wasn't around, was at work all the time, he probably felt the need to have his father around, but then grew up to do the same thing that happened to him. So it's like, it just keeps going on for generations until somebody realizes, oh, I can do better.
It's a generational trauma like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And believe it or not, we learn what we seek.
Yeah.
So if we seek the same, we'll be the same father or the same mother. If we seek the opposite, what we missed, we will be the opposite. Because my father was not around, I'm going to be around my children. I'm going to be connected with my children as a father. That's what I'm going to do. Is that going to work? Maybe. How does that impact the relationship? Severely. Severely.
So you emphasize how children require parental.
I'm going to speak up. I didn't hear you.
You emphasize how children they require the parental figure, right? Like father figure and mother figure. Let's say the father, all of the child's life, the father has just been away, always working, barely seen. And when you are older, you sort of like acknowledge it. You like try to talk to your dad, like, oh, I've been feeling a certain way, how you've been absent in most of the interactions and whatnot. But they try to justify it by, oh, but I was providing for you. But I don't feel like that is justified.
Yeah. Because, again, they understood their role from their parents, from their culture that they grew up in. And they understood their role is to provide.
But for the child, like, he's not. He still hasn't gotten his acknowledgement,
Of course.
and we cannot do anything about it.
And that's commendable and that's acknowledged. However, from a father point of view or a parent point of view, why can't you just be grateful? That's what would they say, right? Because that's how they coped with that gap. They didn't fill the void. They just brushed it off and just toughen up. But believe it or not, they're not tough at all. Yeah. Sorry, you were gonna say something else.
Even that to me sounds kind of like a toxic way to cope with it.
A toxic way to, yeah,
Because you're not really addressing it.
of course not. Yeah, of course not. And it's taunting. It's really heavy for the child to deal with. Even when they become adult, if they bring it up as adults, obviously it never settled. That's a need at childhood, and that's a need of connection, need of feeling safe, a need of feeling heard, a need of feeling supported, and that's not met. If it's not met at childhood, it's very likely not met at adulthood, and we cope with it in a very, very different way, almost always is in an unhealthy way. But it does reflect in the relationship that we have with our spouse, with our girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever you want to call it.
I think in many situations, the man will always be like, oh, I'm going out and providing for the family. Why can't you just be grateful that, like, I'm giving you money? But I think the man doesn't see what their spouse is doing most of the time. Like, they just, like, put a blind eye that the wife is doing, like, the housework, the childcare, like, making sure everything is running smoothly and everything. And, like, when, let's say, the man loses his job or his income like decreases, right? And then he'll start to be like, oh, when I was earning a lot, you got to reap the benefits of this. But now that he's not earning much, why can't we share the sorrows? And then I think that's where a lot of arguments.
So the man would say, let's share the sorrows.
Yeah.
Instead of?
Yeah, but when, let's say when he was earning well, he didn't do anything to help the wife. He just like let her, do the housework and everything. But when there is like not enough money, he'll ask the wife to help him. Okay.
Yeah. So when he's making money, he's not helping the wife around the house. When he's not making enough money, he's asking the wife to help him with the money.
Yeah.
Who's taking care of the house?
Yeah. So like he's taking the wife for granted a little bit.
Yeah, and they can decide all of that as a couple before marriage. What culture do we want to have? What do we want to value? Is money more important than spending time together at home? Or helping each other is more important than helping each other around the house, more important than helping each other around the financial. I can tell you both of them are highly important, to bring money and to take care of the house. Both of them are important.
I feel like establishing such things prior to marriage is good as a general idea, but what if that is used just to align with your spouse's ideology of marriage, and then throughout the marriage you shift to what you are, the true you.
Well, there is no such true you if you are committed to the learning that you learned beforehand. Then you're just basically, again, manipulating to get what you want.
Yeah, and I think
So-
I see that quite
Yeah.
often.
So it's very important to have the couple commitment. If the commitment is broken, guess what? The marriage on the rocks. It's going to be a shaky marriage.
Going back to the idea of culture and gender roles, like, oh, but I'm your husband, so you just So it's just this endless loop of toxicity.
Well, it is, but we bring it regardless of the gender. That's my argument.
Correct.
It's not a gender specific. So yes, it's very common to hear it from men to have these kind of stands, but the fact that it does exist with the opposite gender, it makes it's not necessarily gender specific. It's more learned skill.
Yeah, again, it's not to say that it's only men that have these kind of attitude or like cultural behaviors towards the partner.
Mm.
Female too, but I think the reoccurrence happens more as a guy.
Because you see couples, married couples, who the wife is making really good money and the husband is not working. So they decided the husband stays home. And the husband is like, oh, I don't see you. I need to spend more time with you. I don't have that connection. And the wife is like, why can't you just be grateful? Why do I have to deal with this after a very long day of work? And I'm just tired of this, hearing it day in and day out. Why can't you just take care of the house? Why can't you? It happens. But that's what we learn from childhood, from our surroundings as childhood. That's where we learn relationship. School curriculums has math and physics and chemistry, but it doesn't have relationship. Does it?
No, but actually, when I think back of my relationship with my girlfriend, I actually try to copy my parents.
Exactly. You don't know anything. No other school taught you that. And that connects to the last talk we had. We learned how to do relationship, how to relate to other people from parents as well as from TV, from movies, from friends, culture. Yeah, that's how we learn how to make relationship. So when it comes down to roles, from a cultural or religious point of view, the culture is clear and the religion is clear. It's that the people have the choice, regardless of the gender. They have the choice to be authentic and be transparent and courageous to say it as it is. Because as was mentioned before, that cultures and religions, they focus on men. I can say also many cultures and religions, they allow women to work and they encourage women to work. Like in Islam, I can tell you that when a woman to work, her money is not for the family, it's for herself. She has the right to keep that money for herself. And the husband has no right to ask a penny from her. It's her money. If she wants to help, that's up to her. She gets rewarded for it. But the husband cannot manipulate her or talk to her or talk her into spending money on the family because he wants to do a master's degree or he wants to do a doctorate degree. It's up to her. Her money is her money. His money is for the family. That's the culture in Islamic religion.
Oh, his money is for the family, but
100%.
Wow.
That's the obligation that he has. That's the only difference between man and woman in religion, in Islam. The only difference is that the obligation on the man to provide. The woman does not have that obligation. And everything else is equal.
because the fact that she gave birth itself is enough.
There are a lot of wisdoms behind that, but we don't know exactly. There was not clear definition of why, but that's one possibility. But she has the choice. If she wants to work, she can work. That's for her money. But it's the man's responsibility to provide for the family. So yeah, so culture is there, religion is there, and we bring in our personality into every relationship that we get in. So if we have that resilience, if we have that strength to be courageous, fair, considerate, resilient, we would be okay to be vulnerable and say, I don't have money. Or you don't like this, it's just my personal preference. They can bring that. But when they bring in their personality and they have difficulties in accepting who they are or their not so developed strengths, aka people call them as weaknesses, that's when we resort to manipulate and use culture and religion to fulfill our needs and agenda. Any last thoughts before we end the talk?
I think cultural influences should be separated from religion. And if you are to use religion as a means to reinforce your ideologies, it should be proper.
Mm.
Instead of only pulling points from religion that benefits you.
But religion is a culture by itself, isn't it?
But again, let's say regional culture, Middle East or Asian or Western. I think if you want to use religion influences on your cultural belief, your regional cultural belief, you should not look at it at things that only benefit you. But as like proper, if you want to use religion, use the whole thing. Don't just pick out things that sounds good to you.
Yeah. Okay. So if you want to choose religion as the culture, is that what I'm hearing? You use it in totality. Don't pick and choose.
Right.
And make up your own culture / religion kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people talk about the Middle East culture or the Asian culture. There are many cultures in the Middle East culture. There are many cultures in the Asian culture. And there are many cultures in the Western culture. Many cultures.
Family.
And the culture within the family is a culture within a culture. And actually, the same family, if they are connected, you'll have one culture. But if they're not, you have multiple cultures within the same family. Same values, same priority, different values, different priorities, different goals, different dreams. And yet we call it a family. That's a disoriented family, to be honest. And that's what makes a family organization. They need to have one dream. They need to have one goal. They need to collaborate, not just be bossed around. They need to collaborate to get that dream together, to achieve that dream together. All right. If you have any questions or thoughts, put them in the bottom. More than happy to address it. Until the next talk, stay happy.